it's red. Now, I can't actually believe that I'm making a video talking about this, but today I'm going to be discussing 50 Shades of Grey. And I will be discussing both the book and the movie, which I recently finished and saw. I will start off by saying that going into this, and I read the book very shortly before I saw the movie. I just saw the movie last night, and I finished the book the night before, so it was cutting it pretty close there. But going into this, I did not have a positive mindset. I had read excerpts from 50 Shades of Grey, which kept me from reading it. I heard, just from what I heard, it was never the type of book that I was interested in picking up. I just wasn't. That being said, I want to talk about why I eventually decided to read it and why I'm glad I did. Now, we all know those people that are completely just crazy for 50 Shades of Grey. We all know them. We've all watched them or read what they've, or they've talked about it. And I'm no exception to that. I have several friends who are absolutely just crazy for 50 Shades of Grey. Emma from Emma Books just was talking about it so much and talked about how much she loved it because she recently read the first book as well. And she just kept talking about how much she loved it and kept saying, just try it, just try it, just try it. And I did. And I will say right now that I made it all of maybe 15 pages before I gave up. There is a whole conversation post somewhere about me literally just tearing this apart, just sentence by sentence practically, because I pretty much hated it within the first 15 pages. So I put it down and decided it's not for me. I'll just see the movie. But then I was at work, and one of my coworkers was under the impression, and she's one of my very good friends, and she was under the impression that I had read it. So it was quite a bit of a shock to her when she found out that I didn't, and basically iced me out as a way of getting me to read it, because if you knew her, it's just her way. So in order for us to go through with later plans that we had, I made a promise to her that I would have it read by the end of the next week that I made this promise. And meanwhile, I am just dreading it because those first 15 pages were killing me. But I did pick it back up, and I did start reading from those 15 pages again. And it did get better. Was this a 5 out of 5 stars for me? No, it wasn't. I wouldn't even say that it's 4 out of 5 stars. I would say that my rating keeps going somewhere between 2 and 3. I think I'm going to have to give it at least, I feel like I have to give it at least 3. Because even though part of me, I can tear it apart enough that I could find reasons why I would only give it 2 stars, it did surprise me in how much I enjoyed it, so I have to give it that benefit in my rating. Now, one of my pet peeves about this was the writing. I feel like the writing was the first thing that kind of put me off on this book because just immediately I was not impressed. I know that it started off as a Twilight fan fiction, and it reads like a fan fiction, and not that all fan fictions are written poorly. There are actually some very good writers who write fan fictions. So to those of you who write and read fan fictions, I promise I am not putting down your art. However, I do feel like this not only reads as a fan fiction to me, I feel like it reads as not a particularly well written fan fiction. So I feel like that's important to emphasize because there is a definite difference between a well written fan fiction and less so. Now, I remember when I was only 2 pages into it and I was already pissed off at the writing, and everybody was asking me what it possibly could have done to piss me off at 2 pages. But it just, I was already, like, immediately, right off the bat, I was completely unimpressed with the writing. There were just sentences in there that just, I wonder if they'd been edited at all. And it was a little bit unbelievable to me. Some of the dialogue was just very, I don't know, formal's not the right word, just artificial. It was very artificial, and I am very big in believability, even when it's like a crazy sort of fantasy plot, and obviously we don't read always for realism. However, I like believability, and I felt like starting off, it was less believable in the characters, particularly Anna. Just some of the ways that her stream of thoughts were phrased, it just made it feel a little artificial to me, which did keep me from enjoying it as soon as I probably could have. The one thing that but eventually, and even though this doesn't really change throughout the book, I feel like eventually I stopped noticing it as much. I kind of got used to it, so it made me stop nitpicking it and keeping me from enjoying it, because eventually I was able to focus on the story and overlook some of the writing, even though I still don't think it's that wonderful. The other thing that I want to comment on is the sort of unbalanced development between Anna and Christian. Christian, I was surprised to find a very fascinating character. Extremely fascinating. I don't like him as a person. Not at all, actually. If I was Anna, I would have told him to kick rocks a long time ago, because it just... our personalities would clash if we met in real life. Hot billionaire and all, just not enough for me. I already know that our personalities would just go like that. It just clash. That being said, I find Christian an extremely fascinating character because he's so complicated and messed up that I just want to understand him, and I find myself compelled to understand where this type of thinking and behavior originates and comes from. I want to understand him. So I do understand Anna's fascination in the sense that you're trying to figure him out. So that will compel me to probably finish the series because I'm interested in learning more about Christian as a character. Now, Anna, although she does have moments where I found myself, I feel like identifying is too strong of a word, but I felt myself sympathizing with her. There were certain moments where I genuinely felt for her as a character. One of those moments was when Christian left and then she started crying and she was really upset because he didn't stay with her, and she was trying to figure out how she was feeling about all these new things and just kind of how much it was upsetting her. And there was something about how that scene was written that really made me feel for her as a character. But for the most part, I felt like she was I felt like E.L. James kind of focused on developing Christian and let her protagonist development kind of waver. Because there are certain things that I just wanted to understand about Anna as a character. I wanted to feel like there are parts of her personality and parts of her decisions that had a purpose, and I feel like I didn't get that. And I was actually having a discussion about this with Cassie from Miss Sassy Cassie, and Sierra from Sierra Reads, and Emma from Emma Books, and I think Kelly was in on this too, but we were discussing realism when it comes to sex and virginity within books, particularly YA, but I'm going to apply it to 50 Shades as well. Anna is a virgin. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with being a virgin at 21 years old. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. However, I want to understand that about her. It's a little hard for me to believe that there's just never been anybody but the hot billionaire that she's been attracted to. That's just very unrealistic to me, and I feel like it's hard for me to believe. If it's something as simple as, you know, she has been attracted to other guys, but it just never reached that level, to me that's more believable. It's understandable, and I get it. Or maybe you have religious convictions, and that's why you're still a virgin at this age. You know, I mean, there are so many different reasons, some bigger than others. But again, even if it's just as little as, yeah, there were interests, but none of them just caught your attention, it's just extremely hard to believe that somebody that's clearly this responsive as Anna has never been attracted to anybody except a hot billionaire. That's just a little unrealistic. Like, what happened to your teenage hormones? I feel like there are reasons for everything in your life. Some are big, some are little. And I just felt like more than anything, I wouldn't have minded her virginity if I felt like it said something about her and her life. And to me, it just felt like a plot convenience, because it was convenient for Christian and his control freakness to have a protagonist that was a virgin. To me, it just felt more like a plot convenience than essential to her singularly as a character. And I feel like if that had just been maybe elaborated on a little bit more, or developed a little bit more, I want to understand Anna. I want to understand her personality, her reasons for making decisions, why she thinks a certain way, the same way that we are learning these things about Christian. Christian has his interests. We understand why he does this and why he does this. And we're still learning about other things, but you know that's coming. And with Anna, I'm hoping that she develops further in the other two books, because so far I find myself just wanting to know more about her and understand more about her, and I'm just not getting that. So I do feel like the author put more effort into Christian's development than she did Anna, despite the fact that we spend all of our time with Anna. Now we're going to talk about the movie and comparing the book and the movie a little bit. I will say it right now that I loved Anna a lot more as a character in the movie. I felt like I understood her more as a character in the movie. I feel like I got a lot out of the movie what I wasn't getting out of the book. I felt like I understood her reactions and some of her emotional responses in the movie a little bit more than I did in the book. I felt like it was a little more clearly conveyed. And honestly, just the way she starts to learn to take control of herself around Christian in the movie, I love that. I just absolutely loved that. I don't know. I just really enjoyed Anna as a character in the movie. I don't know. I can't even exactly pinpoint it, but had Anna been written in the book the way she is in the movie, I think everything that I just said about Anna's character in the book would have been rendered useless. Now I want to talk about the casting, which was pretty much perfect, which really surprised me because I was very skeptical of the casting choices. Like, at first I thought Jamie Dornan had a little bit of a baby face without his beard that I was used to seeing in Once Upon a Time, but he ended up being a pretty perfect Christian. So I can't complain about that. And I was also a little bit skeptical of Dakota Johnson as Anna, but she ended up being exactly what I would want from Anna. She ended up being perfect, and I felt like she did such a good job, and I feel like I really empathized with her character. I could talk about like the minor roles a little bit more. I do think that those were cast very well too, but considering that it pretty much just focuses on Anna and Christian, that's the casting that I cared about the most. So I just gonna leave it as that I really thought that it was cast very well. Overall, I think it was a fairly accurate adaptation. Obviously, a lot was cut out. There weren't as many sex scenes, and that's fine. I feel like the ones that they included were ones that were good for perpetuating the storyline and making sure it moves things along while still establishing their relationship and the dynamics of that relationship. And I feel like it's important to have those scenes have meaning as opposed to just throwing them in there for the sake of having more sex in the movie. Because personally, I don't care about that. I just want it to have purpose. And I feel like they did a good job of selecting the scenes that were important to their relationship as opposed to just throwing tons of sex scenes in there for no reason. I do want to talk about the ending a little bit too. The book ending versus the movie ending. And despite the fact that it's the same ending, I somehow interpreted it a lot better in the movie than I did in the book. When I first finished the book, there's this scene where Christian, and it's still weird for me to have to say this to you guys, but when Christian gets done spanking Anna, and this is where she's trying to find out if she can really deal with it and if she can really handle the worst of it. In the book, it seems like she just wants to know if she can handle his fetishes or not. That's what it seems like. And then when it ends up being worse than she imagined, she completely lashes out and puts him down for his interests. And I just remember thinking how mean that was. How kind of like he's been telling her the entire time what he's into. And she asked to see if she can deal with it. And then because she struggles with that, she puts him down, and that just felt so unnecessary and so mean of her character. I just did not like that. I was just like, God damn it, Anna, are you kidding me right now? Like, such an asshole move. But I actually loved this scene a lot more in the movie because I felt like it was conveyed the way it was supposed to. Because in the movie, it's not just about, oh, can I handle your fetish? Can I handle how bad it can get? In the movie, it was more clearly just portrayed that for you to understand that her letting him do that to her was about her trying to understand the depth of the punishment he wanted to inflict on her personally. And she wanted to understand what exactly goes on in his head that he wants to do to her and what is the depth of that sort of 50 Shades of Fucked Upness, you know? She just wants to understand how deep that goes. And when he showed her, she was disturbed and heartbroken because she's seeing what the man she loves wants to see her as and wants to harm her and punish her for just being her. And she can't understand why this man that she loves so much wants to do that to her. And even though technically she says the same words, she reacts with the same dialogue, it is conveyed in a completely different way. So I understood her reaction, and I don't want to say that I approve of it, but I understand it, and I don't feel that her reaction was inappropriate the way I felt it was in the book. I understood that I feel like that was much more clearly displayed in the movie, and I did not get that out of the book at all. And that was one of those moments where I just really felt for Anna. The other part that I want to say that I absolutely loved about the ending of the movie is when she goes to leave and she goes to get into the elevator, and suddenly Christian takes off after her like he's going to try and like he has done through the entire movie. But she says stop, and when he doesn't, she firmly says no. So he understands, and he's taken aback because she is putting her foot down. She's putting her foot down, and it's just the way she says it. It is just such a powerful moment in the movie to me that I absolutely loved it. And obviously they're both heartbroken, but despite her heartbreak, she is standing up for herself, and she's putting her foot down to not accepting less than she deserves. And I felt like it was such an empowering way to end the film. And I realized that basically that's what happens at the end of the book, and I was pretty proud of her at the end of the book too for being able to do that, but I felt like it was just more powerful at the end of the movie. And it was a heartbreaking ending, but it was an empowering ending, and I loved it. I really enjoyed the ending of that movie. It just felt like it was so well done.